like that, but we were doing the work, and you know who was not sharing, the money wasn't sharing. But anyway, it got us to where we are now, and, I used to, when we were younger, maybe in high school, I would watch my daddy and the other men of the community get dressed maybe one Sunday out of the quarter, which is about 3 or 4 months. And they would go off to a meeting and not say where they were going. And we were just left there wondering where they were going, leaving us, especially the fact that they were dressed up. So finally I asked my mother, it took at least about 2 or 3 conversations, and finally she said, he's going to that NAACP meeting. Well, we knew what the NAACP was. We knew where that kind of meeting. We knew the Ku Klux Klan too. We also know about them. So we didn't say anything, and most of our fathers were doing the same thing, quietly going off to a meeting. And I just kept thinking, and I was probably in the 10th grade maybe, when I made up my mind that when I'm grown and gone, I'm gonna find me a meeting like he's going to. But I'm not gonna be going in there hiding and sleeping and, you know, not letting nobody know where I'm going. I'm gonna let everybody know I'm here and I wanna get a part of this. So when I graduated from high school I graduated in 1955, went to New Jersey, that's where everybody was going to work. I went there, it was too much city, too much water, too many people. I stayed 2 weeks and I went back home and stayed a year. And I came up here in 1956 and eventually moved to the Harriet Tubman branch, YWCA. And Mary Clyburn was also living there. She was living there, she encouraged me to come. So on the 4th Sunday in May of 1957, we happened to be going out of the YWCA on a Sunday afternoon, just like, well, you know how when you were 19 and 20, wherever you could find to go, you were going there. And there were plenty of places here in Durham that you could go. So we were on our way out of the Harriet Tubman branch, YWCA. And that was a place where there was always meetings and classes. It was a busy place, and it was a nice place to live and a nice place to meet people. So I loved it there. And that Sunday we were going out of the building, and this bunch of men were, well-dressed men were coming in. They were going to a meeting, and that was the biggest meeting room on the left-hand side. And one of them invited us to go. And I said, well, what kind of meeting is it? He said, it's a political meeting. Remember, I had said that was the briar patch I wanted to be in. So I immediately said, yes, we would like to go. And so we went on in there and sat down in there. The president was David Stith, and he owned Southeastern Business College at that time. The families, he's dead, the family still runs it, and it's called Kitty College, I think, or something. It's for kids now, but they still run it anyway, and he was the president. So he immediately called the meeting to order. It didn't take long for us to find out exactly why these men were meeting. And he made it clear that we are going to, eventually, we are going to test one of the eating establishments here in Durham and see just what happens. All of them were segregated, so I mean, you had any of them you could have gone to. But we did not make a decision. That first meeting I went, everybody went home with the idea next month, which would be June the 23rd. When you come back in, we want somebody to be prepared to volunteer to go and sit in. We didn't even decide where we were gonna sit in, just sit in, so that would be the 3rd, 23rd of June, which was the fourth Sunday in June. We went to the meeting and they just rolled the meeting right along. And when the question came up, who is willing to volunteer and go? Those 3 women that you're gonna see on that picture and 4 men decided that we were gonna go. Okay, so you got your volunteers, 7 volunteers. Where are we going? And we kicked around the name of a lot of places, cause like I said, everywhere was segregated. So anywhere we go, not all of them were open on Sunday. But then we remember the Royal Ice Cream Parlor sits right in the heart of the, then we were called Color, sits right in the heart of the colored community. Why not go there since we can't go in there and sit in and eat our ice cream? So the Royal Ice Cream Parlor, here we come. And we went in, we knew what the deal was. We were gonna have to park in the back, go up a few steps, go in the back door, and stand and wait until the waiter come by us, go over in the white section, take their order, take it back to the kitchen, then come and take our order while we're still standing, put it in a bag. If it was a cup, if it was a cone, just hand it to you. Back out the back door you went and you got in the car and left. You did not sit in the parking lot and eat the ice cream. So that was what we were prepared to do if we got the ice cream. But the main thing was getting in there. We knew that once we got in there, there was a swinging door. There was a partition a little bit higher than this. I would say the partition was about like this because it was about waist for us. And for the waiter to get through there was a swinging door which swung both ways. You push it this way and he'd go in, and then, swinging door swings back. So the idea is whoever goes in front, push that door so hard till it would hang, and that would give all 7 of us a chance to get in and sit down. And that is exactly what happened. I don't know who was in front, but I know I must have been one of the last ones because I ended up in the back. And I cleared the door, and then the door swung that way, and we took the choice seats, which was the ones those long seats, what do you call them? The
booths? The bar?
Booth?
Booth. We took the booth. And there we could sit at the window and you could see traffic coming and going from downtown, coming and going from Roxborough Road. So we were sitting and the waiter caught our eye. And he went back to the manager's office. The manager came out and got a look at us, went back in there. So then the waiter came out and he started down there and he started on that end. And he wanted to know if we would, he was asking them to leave. Well, sitting back here, we didn't know what they were saying up there, but we knew nobody was moving. And that was the idea. We're gonna all sit. So they were sitting and they were asking the waiter for ice cream, and he was saying he said the manager does not want to serve you. He didn't say we are not going to. They wouldn't move, so he kept on coming and coming until he got back there to us, and he asked us if we would please leave, and all of us were asking for ice cream, same thing. So he said, well, the manager doesn't want to serve you, but if you just get up and leave, there won't be no problem. He will not press charges. And we still sitting there, I'd like some ice cream, please. So finally, when that wasn't working, he went back and talked to the manager. The manager came out again and looked at us, and finally we looked, and here comes the cruisers, the police cruisers from downtown. And they parked in the front of the place. They came in, they looked at us as they walked back to the manager's office and talk to him a little while. Then they decided that they would take a shot at it. So they started down there asking the ones down there to leave. Nobody was leaving. They were asking the police for some ice cream. Just kept asking, we want ice cream. We didn't care who gave it to us. They kept coming, and finally they got to us in the same thing. I'd like some ice cream, looking at them, please. So finally they said, well, the manager is not going to sell you any ice cream. But if you would kindly leave quietly, he also is not going to press charges. And you can go home and there'll be no problem with it. So we were just sitting there. Nobody was moving. Finally the police decided, the manager and the police decided we're gonna have to just arrest them. So they did. Now, I don't know at that time whether they were handcuffing anybody or not, but I know they didn't handcuff us. They just walked us to the car, and we got in the car and downtown to the magistrate's office. And there was only one magistrate on duty at that time because I guess not a whole lot happened down at the courthouse on Sunday afternoon. So it took him a while to, I believe he had a typewriter. I know he didn't have no computer, that's one thing. And it was taking him a while to put it on in because he had to do it individual. Click, 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 and he was sitting there and we were standing and the police was standing and it was quiet. And finally, I guess it got too quiet for one of them. So he looked at me and he said, we were all standing up. He said, if you were my daughter, I would take you across my lap and spank you. I have no idea why he would say it to me because, it meant he wasn't thinking of what he was saying. He was just trying to make conversation. And then I don't know why I came back with the answer I did, but I said to him, if I were your daughter, I wouldn't be down here for this. And the rest of them were trying not to laugh because he already had embarrassed himself a little bit. And they were just trying to hold it back. So there was no more conversation. The rest of it was going and going. In the meantime, I was told by somebody, most of those people, the old ones, are dead now, but one lady told me, she said when it came on the news, on the TV that Sunday afternoon, they always had 6 o'clock news. And it was, now they call it a special bulletin. No, now they call it breaking news. At that time it was a special bulletin and they were sitting around watching TV, and when it came up there, that special bulletin, 7 coloreds had gone over to the Royal Ice Cream Parlor and sat down and asked and demanded ice cream and were being arrested. And she told me, she said, everybody got on the phone. Did you see the news? Did you hear what happened? Somebody down there, some colored folks down there at the Royal Ice Cream place asking for ice cream and got arrested. Well, do you know who they? No, there must be some out-of-town folks coming in here to make trouble. That's what a good friend of mine said. First thing he said is some people from out of town coming in here to make trouble, and we already doing fine. Well, in a way they were, because I think at least 4 of us were from out of town, but we didn't even know each other until the month before. And so they decided, well, we got to get them to get together and find them some attorneys. The least thing we can do is support them and get some attorneys to try to get them out of jail. They didn't know then whether they were gonna lock us up or not because we were being processed. And I noticed a colored man over there by the window, and he was mumbling to himself. And I asked somebody, I said, who is that? They said, that's Mr. Louis Austin, the owner of the Carolina Times. You all ever heard of the Carolina Times? You know what that is? Okay. He was the owner of that. Instead of him going to the meeting with the rest of them, he came down there to bond us out, cause he knew that somebody was gonna have to try to keep him out of jail. And what he was mumbling about was, I wish I could have gotten down here earlier, because he found out that somebody had already bailed us out. Until today, we have no idea who it was.
Wow.
But I'm told that in 1957, there were no black bail bondsmen. So it had to be a white person who slipped in there, bailed us out, slipped back out, and he didn't call no press conference. That's one thing for sure. Whoever it is, that is a part of history that, in my opinion, a very important part of history that is unknown. It's just lost. Well, it's not lost because we never knew who it was. And it has never come out who it was, but it was a white bail bondsman that did it, or at least somebody who was in a position to do that. So David Stith called us and told us come up to his place of business. It was upstairs on Pedro Street. That's where his business was then, Southeastern Business College. He unlocked the drink machine, the cake machine, and the candy machine, and that was Sunday's dinner for us while they were getting some attorneys together. So eventually, I guess they were satisfied that they were going to have we would have representation, and we were told to go home and just go on to work. And Attorney Marsh would meet us at the courthouse that Monday morning. So, and as I said, I had only been here a year, so that means I had just been working for a year at Duke. And I'm thinking, uh-oh, this is it. And the morning's paper had the article on the morning's paper. 7 colors got arrested, and they named every one of us. I went to work just like I didn't even know what they were talking about. And my coworker, I saw y'all on TV. I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't say anything to the manager, the assistant manager. That's who was working. Her name was Miss Malone, and she was from Alabama. I knew right then I was heading back to the cotton field. And finally they came and they told us that you're gonna have to go home because Attorney Marsh said that the judge would not put the case off. He wanted to put the case off. He didn't want to handle it because that would have been his first big case, and it turned out it really was. That's the one that put him on the board and made him famous. Attorney William A. Marsh Jr., he died just before Thanksgiving last year, I think. So he had to take the case because Attorney Conrad Pearson, who was known for stuff like that, was in New York at the National NAACP meeting. So I got ready and went on. I went to Miss Malone and I told her, I said, Miss Malone, something happened and I have to go home. I didn't tell her what. It was already on the front page. She knew what it was, but I didn't, that was a conversation that I didn't start. So she said, all right, Virginia, if you can't come tomorrow, call us and let us know. I guess she said, because you'll be in jail. But at any rate, we got there, the courthouse was full. I think every police that was not working was there. Because this was something happened that had not happened before. Had not happened in North Carolina that we know of. And so we went in there and sat down. The judge called the case, the attorney, and we were going to plead not guilty through the attorney, so attorney pleaded not guilty for the 7 of us. And I'm still not clear about what the fine was, but anyway, when Attorney Marsh pleaded not guilty, that means he was sending us up for Superior Court, trial by jury. And it seems like it took forever for that to come up, but eventually we went to Superior Court. That was 12 white men. I don't think there were any women. I think all of them were 12 white men. Yeah, So we knew what that verdict was gonna be. They upheld the recorder's court guilty. Attorney Marsh, pleaded not guilty and appealed that case. Now we're getting ready to go to Raleigh to the state Supreme Court. And we went to the state Supreme Court. It seemed like it took at least 2 years over a course of all the time to go from one court to the other. And that judge, there was a judge, I believe his name was Judge Moore, but I'm not sure of it. He upheld the other two courts' decision. So we were all guilty. They sent the brief to, we didn't go to Washington to the United States Supreme Court, but they sent the brief. And I don't know whether they read it or not, but they sent the answer back. That we had, this was on grounds that our rights had been violated, and their answer was our rights were not violated. They stopped short of saying we didn't have any rights, they just said they were not violated. So we were given a certain time to pay the fines, and I think this paper said 2 days before that time ran out, Attorney Marsh went down to the courthouse and paid the check that was written by the Durham branch NAACP. So basically, that was the story of, there's another picture, that's the mirror. And this was a book that my niece put together for me. So that was basically the story of the Royal Ice Cream case. In 1960, the Greensboro Four had that setting in. And at that time now, I can tell you the difference in our setting in and the Greensboro Four, it happened in June. You don't have students here in the summer. They go home for the summer. So there were no students to pick up the picketing like in Greensboro. They did it February 1st. All of the students are back. You had your Christmas vacation, your Thanksgiving vacation, and all of that. And that was the difference because they had the students to Bennett College and all of them to join in, and they were able to have a big picket, and then from North Carolina on to South Carolina and all over the United States, the students started picketing. But of course, when they started, then the people in Durham Business College, Durham, North Carolina, it was North Carolina College at that time. So we also were picketing, and at the Royal Ice Cream place, the high school students mainly, especially the people who lived in North Durham where the ice cream bar was, they were always on the picket line too. And it kept on and on until it died. But that is the difference in how quiet ours was and how Greensboro, they had all of that support because they had all of the students back. But we had picket lines on around most of the places. And then you had women in factories who were working in factories. And they quietly went to work and did their job. And then they rushed home, and some made cookies and some made the little potato pies, and some had crackers and peanut butter to bring to St. Joseph Church. All of the picketers went to St. Joseph Church to get the assignment, and that was what is now Haytime. And that's where they're going tonight. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's where this group goes to church as well.
Yeah, because when I come from St. Joseph down the street,